All right, today we are diving deep into the story of one of the internet's most infamous, most polarizing figures, a man you probably know as Kim Dotcom. He's been called a lot of things over the years, but this one, this label right here, Hollywood's #1 enemy, well, that pretty much captures the epic fight that would define his entire life and honestly change the internet as we know it. And believe me, the labels do not stop there. I mean, just look at this list. Depending on who you're talking to, he's a visionary, a criminal, a total scammer, a folk hero to some, an activist, or just a convenient scapegoat. It's a mess of contradictions, right? So you have to ask, with all these different masks, who is the real Kim Dotcom? Well, to even begin to figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. See, before he was the larger-than-life Kim Dotcom, he was carefully building a myth, crafting this digital phantom. And if you want to understand the man, you first have to understand the character he created for himself. Back in the early 90s, he took on the alias Kimble. Now, where does that come from? It's a nod to the main character in The Fugitive, you know, the guy who's wrongfully accused and has to go on the run. That one choice, it tells you everything about how he wanted to be seen right from the very start. And this whole self-mythologizing thing, it was a constant pattern. For example, he claimed he hacked Citibank for a cool $20 million and then gave it all to Greenpeace. The reality? Well, the hack did happen, but it was Russian hackers who did it, and trust me, they did not donate the money. He also claimed he went to this elite boarding school in the castle. The truth? He was living in a home for troubled youth. He was always building a persona that was way bigger than reality. His early career is just this fascinating mix of being genuinely tech-savvy while also, loving to dance around in those legal gray areas. Just look at this timeline. He starts in the early 90s with pirated software, gets a suspended sentence for it. But then, and this is clever, he flips that whole hacker image to launch a cybersecurity firm, only to turn around and get nailed for insider trading a couple years later. You can see the pattern forming right there. In all of this, it all builds up to his most famous, or maybe infamous, creation, Megaupload. And this is where the big dilemma really comes into focus. Was this thing a piece of groundbreaking innovation, or was it just a slick digital criminal empire? So back in 2005, and you have to remember this is way before Dropbox or Google Drive were things that everybody used, he launches Megaupload. The idea itself was just brilliantly simple. It was a place where anyone could upload any file and just share it with a link. It was so far ahead of its time. And it wasn't just a cool idea. It was a behemoth. At its absolute peak, Megaupload had, get this, 50 million daily users. I mean, for that era of the internet, that number is just absolutely mind-blowing. And to really put that into perspective, just look at this. The site accounted for a staggering 4% of all global internet traffic. 4%. To run that much of the world's internet through a single service, that is just a staggering amount of power. So here's the deal. You've got these two completely different ways of looking at it. On one side, hey, it's an innovative platform. It offers easy file sharing. And Dotcom always argued that he gave studios the tools to take down their stuff. But on the other side, it was, let's be honest, a massive hub for piracy. They were allegedly running a rewards program that paid people for popular illegal uploads, and they were supposedly dragging their feet on those very same takedown requests. But something this huge, this disruptive, it couldn't last. As Megaupload's power skyrocketed, so did the fury of the entire entertainment industry. And then it all came crashing down. This was the day Hollywood finally struck back. For years, he'd been operating more or less in the shadows. But in 2011, Kim Dotcom steps right into the spotlight. He publicly declares himself the big boss, and in that moment, he becomes the face of piracy. He became the perfect, larger-than-life villain for Hollywood to go after, a digital Dr. Evil. And the takedown itself was, well, it was like something straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. The FBI requested it, and at dawn, heavily armed police in New Zealand literally stormed his mansion. At the exact same time, raids were happening in 8 other countries. And then, just like that, Megaupload and every site connected to it just went dark. The whole thing vanished. The case the US government brought against him was absolutely massive. They alleged over $500 million in copyright damages. They claimed he'd made $175 million in illegal profits. And the charges weren't just about piracy. We're talking racketeering, money laundering, with a potential prison sentence of 55 years. And that raid kicked off a legal battle that's lasted for more than a decade. And it leaves us wrestling with the fallout and the ultimate legacy of Kim Dotcom. So what is he, a villain or a visionary? Ever since that arrest in 2012, his life has basically been in legal limbo. He spent over 10 years fighting extradition to the US, but in August of 2024, that order was finally signed. Then, just a few months later, he had a serious stroke, which just adds another tragic layer to this whole never-ending story. So, we're left right back at that central question. Was this guy a criminal mastermind who knowingly built an empire on theft? Or was he just turned into the perfect cartoonish villain because he represented this digital Wild West that the old media giants just couldn't control and were desperate to shut down? One source put it perfectly. They said that whatever his intentions were, he held up a mirror to an industry that had completely slept through the internet revolution and was desperate to stop the clock from ticking. The story of Kim Dotcom, it's really about more than just one guy. It's about this massive clash between old power structures and new technology. And it leaves us with one last big question. Was he a digital outlaw, or was he the perfect scapegoat? And the answer, just like the man himself, is really, really complicated.